Hello! We went to a movie. It was awesome.
We saw Arrival. No spoilers. We'll let you know when spoilers are going to happen. A bit of info about our star rating scale we're going to be using. It's 5 stars because we're plebs. 1 star is terrible. 2 stars, mediocre. 3 stars, pretty good. 4 stars, awesome. And 5 stars, perfect. It's a very character-driven science fiction film, and it's interesting to me because it's not Transformers or Mars Attacks or
Alien.
Independence Day, Alien. Like, yeah, this is not that. This is more of a thinking person's film.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot slower, it's a lot more character-driven. Not really one for the popcorn crowd. Enjoyability.
I mean, I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a hard movie at moments. I cried a little, which is frustrating because whenever I'm like that at a movie, it's one of those things like, I didn't really like that I had to cry to watch this movie. But at the same time, it was very good, so 4.
I would give it a 4 too.
Yeah.
Josh enjoyed it 4 stars. Visuals. Cinematography, VFX.
I thought it was, for the most part, it was gorgeous. It was really great. There were a couple moments that I think I'm starting to see the visual effects.
Yeah, it's largely pretty decent. The creatures are pretty well done, mostly. Especially near the end, there's some bad compositing. Compositionally, it's fine, decent looking movie. I did have a huge problem, especially early in the film. Oftentimes, there's a person right in front of the camera, and there are a lot of shots like this in the movie, but they're not lit. Everything in front of them is lit. So it's almost like a silhouette. However, everything past the person is blurred.
Yeah.
And this is not like a flashback or anything. This is part of the movie, and it happens a lot. So you'll walk into a room behind this person, and they're fully in focus, but they're not lit, and the people talking that you're listening to and trying to focus on are out of focus, or the focal points will be out of focus. And it gave me a huge headache because when your brain is trying to assess the main point of a composition or the thing that's making noise, and you're trying to pull that into focus with your eye, but the cameraman's not pulling it into focus, it just really took me out of the movie. And it's a little thing, but I don't know, it's a little thing that gave me a headache.
It was big then, though. It was a big deal at that time.
It really was, especially for a movie that I think, by and large, I really enjoyed.
Right. And I feel like he was trying to really convey something because during that part of the movie, the characters, they felt overwhelmed and very uncomfortable. I felt like that too while watching it, which seems like that might have been his goal, but at the same time, I don't think that's okay.
I like my fair share of really uncomfortable and generally sickening films where the director wants to bring you to that place, and you don't have to do it by giving the audience a headache.
Right.
So,
right. I feel like there's a way to do it, and that just wasn't helpful.
It felt like a failed attempt at artiness.
Yes. 3. That would be a 3.
Okay, I give it a 2. Acting. There are not a lot of people in this movie. Just not a lot of characters. So it really falls on these actors to sort of sell the story.
Yeah. And it's Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker, and a few other people
Here and there.
I thought they did great. I haven't seen Jeremy Renner in too many things, and I've seen Amy Adams in a few things, but she's kind of all over the place for me when it comes to her acting. But I thought it was great. I thought she did a really good job. I thought they were awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it was good. It was great. I really felt for her character. Nothing Oscar worthy, but she totally sold it. By the end of the movie, I believed she was who she was, and I believed Jeremy Renner was Jeremy Renner. Everyone delivers a fine performance, but in my view, she pretty much carries the movie by herself for many, many sequences.
I'd say awesome. 4.
I'll give it 3.5, half a star. It's like Lindsay Lohan. Music, sound.
Yes.
There's a song in the movie that made the audience laugh and it wasn't supposed to. It's really strange.
Oh yeah, it's really weird.
And once again, you get the feeling that the director's trying to be artsy and accidentally making something laughable.
Yeah. These things that were
nitpicks.
Nitpicking. Yeah, we're nitpicking because there's so many good things about the movie. There's only these little things. But yeah, the sound, it felt like a lot of, I'm trying to make this really dramatic type noises. Yeah.
A lot of Inception bombs.
Yes.
Inception bombs and silly music choices.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a soundtrack that if it weren't as bad as it is, it'd be entirely forgettable, which is fine, because that's not really the movie's selling point.
Right.
You're going to the movie to solve a mystery and to learn about characters. Maybe 1.5.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna join the halvesies with 1.5 too. It didn't ruin the movie for me, but at the same time, it was super annoying most of the time.
So yeah, go see it. Tell us what you think, because we're doing spoilers! We're going to talk about story and character developments, full spoiler mode. If you want to see our final score for the movie, fast forward to the time code on the screen to miss all the spoilers but still see the final score. Amy Adams, she's a linguist. She teams up with a scientist, Jeremy Renner. They're sort of forced team by the military of the United States. 12 alien spacecrafts have landed at different points of the Earth. They have to go make contact with the one that has landed in the United States. They do so. The reason they get a linguist and a scientist is because they know the creatures are talking, they're making some kind of noise, but they have no idea how to interpret it.
Right.
They don't know why they're there, they don't know if they're threatening. No one knows anything and everyone's kind of in a panic. The world is devolving into chaos.
Yeah.
So Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, they figure out how to communicate with the aliens because the aliens communicate in these ring-like symbols which encapsulate many meanings at once. So it's a long process, and they work this back and forth, and it's really cool. They discover that the creatures are there to impart a gift upon humanity, which is their language. And the more you learn their language and the more you speak their language, you start to experience life in the way that their language encapsulates meaning.
Their language and their way of life is non-linear.
Yeah.
There's so many meanings to their one symbol that they're using to talk to you.
And once like you learn how to think with their language, you experience time as non-linear.
Right.
So the way we begin the movie is with her thinking back on her daughter's life, but that's something that actually happens in the future, because we're meant to think it's a flashback, but it's something that happens in the future because by the end of the movie, she is experiencing life non-linearly.
Yeah.
To the point where she's able to draw information from the future to affect the present. It felt like it sort of gave her a lot of power, and that's why the aliens came down to impart that gift upon humanity. Was my view of it anyway. Yeah. But you came out of the theater with a bit of a different vibe, at least.
I did. Yeah, you came out of it very hopeful. I struggled with that because she basically finds out her future is that she gets married. She finds out her daughter's sick. Like, her husband goes away, daughter dies.
Yeah.
And basically there are moments where she could prevent these situations from happening, sort of, because I don't think she can prevent her daughter's sickness. I'm also thinking linearly, which makes it more complicated, I guess. But she doesn't stop it. She just knows. And I came out of it very frustrated and legitimately angry at the character, because I felt like there could be something she could prevent or not have to deal with or not have to make other people deal with, but instead she's just letting it happen.
Yeah.
And
it
was a lot.
It is a lot to handle emotionally, but I guess my takeaway from that, or at least the film's perspective on that perhaps, was that it was more important to her to have those moments with her daughter all the way up through her teenage years, and to live that life meant so much to her, and she viewed it as such a beautiful thing that even if her daughter's death couldn't be prevented, it would still be worth her having those years with her.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a really tough decision, but at the same time, her going into that, knowing what's going to happen, felt very empowering, even if she wasn't able to change the outcome.
Yeah. And with that hope, it looks like she made every day probably great. At least that should be what she did. That's my personal opinion.
What would you give it out of 5 stars as a whole?
4.
I would give it 3.5. So definitely worth watching.
You're gonna edit that?
So yeah, Arrival.
It's really good.
Yeah, unexpected. It was so nice to go to the theaters and see a movie that was not attached to a franchise or a superhero or based on a comic book or based on a video game or...
Although I like those.
She loves those. She's super pop culture queen. Actually, Actually, slap your face.